Bright, shiny February 19th here, Cuyahoga County. And welcome to the Public Safety and Justice Affairs Committee. Roll call, please.
Calling the roll, Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Ms. Baker. Here. Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Brady.
Here.
Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent at the moment. There is a quorum.
Public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in. And I also like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Welcome, Mr. Miller, as always. Appreciated. In your packet, we have the minutes of January 15th. If they're in order, I'll accept the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. 219-0035.
Resolution number 2019-0035, authorizing a revenue-generating agreement with City of East Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $818,000 for Cuyahoga Emergency Communication System Emergency Dispatch Services for the period 6/1/2019 through 5/31/2022.
Mrs. Kearney.
Good afternoon, Council. Brandy Carney, Chief of Public Safety and Justice for the county. If it's okay, I'll just say a couple things here and then ask the Public Safety Justice Services Director to speak specifically about the agreement in front of you. This particular agreement, the proposal serves as another step in our consolidation of dispatch centers throughout Cuyahoga County. As many of you recall, we started off in March of 13 with 48 primary dispatch centers. As of today, we are down to 27, so pretty significant steps that have taken over the last few years. The proposal is a revenue-generating agreement, and cost savings will be realized to the wireless fund, which is pretty significant for the Public Safety Department. A few years back, the wireless fund, which is money received from the state on an annual basis, was decreased. And so this will be another step in helping to retain some of the funding received in that fund. This will serve to further the mission of CCOMS and provide a high level of service to the residents of East Cleveland. Again, the proposal in front of you is for fire and dispatch services for our county dispatcher to provide dispatch center to provide for the city of East Cleveland. So if it's okay with you, I can call up Alex Pelham, Director of Public Safety, Councilman, and ask him to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, as Chief Carney stated, this agreement between CCOMS and East Cleveland is what I consider a win-win because it helps us save money, it helps our PSAP consolidation process, and it will present you know, a higher level of saving for those in East Cleveland. The terms of this deal, like we talked about, are 3 years, starting on June 1st and ending on May 31st. As Chief Carney mentioned, this will get us down to 26. You know, with the current Brecksville consolidation that's ongoing, that'll reduce it to 23, which will be more than a 50% reduction in PSAPs since that Ativo study in 2012. In order to achieve this, CCOMS will hire 3 dispatchers, 2 full-time, 1 part-time, and 3 part-time call takers. The hiring will be done by the county and will provide for an exclusive posting for East Cleveland dispatchers. That way we can bring on that expertise and we can bring on that continuity with the services that are being provided. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the presence of Fire Chief Mike Saliga and Police Chief Mike Cardilli, who are here to answer any very specific questions, but also here to show their support in what's going on. I'm happy to take any questions you may have on this or any concerns.
Are there questions from the committee? Alex, you're not from around here. And that's going to be a good thing, and a question that I have. So when we first started this, and I think this is probably, other than the sewers, this is one of the better projects that we've worked on as far as collaboration and cooperation between the cities offering, the county leading the way in affording services that everyone needs and uses. It was always my thought as a layperson that the less is better when it comes to dispatch. What is your thought?
You know, I think there's value in the consolidation just because of, you know, some of the mutual aid responses that are already built in. A lot of these agencies work together. And it also, you know, as we work on this wireless fund, like Chief Carney mentioned, we do realize savings as consolidation happens, you know, and I think the coordination that occurs with fewer is better. Do I think that there should be one? I don't know. You know, but I think that as we reduce it, the ability to coordinate, the ability to plan, and the ability to upgrade services that we have presents itself in a much easier yield than with 59 or 48.
Right, and I think we're heading in the right direction. The only concern I have was maybe 5 was a better number than the number that we started with, but we're halfway home. So I think I'll not be here certainly, but hopefully whoever takes over will be leading us into those 5. But are there any other questions regarding this? Yes, ma'am.
Through the chair, so for the East Cleveland, I just want to understand, because, you know, it's been a while since we've heard about the PSAPs. So with this revenue generating agreement with City of East Cleveland, will you try to include other cities, the neighboring cities like Cleveland Heights and things of that nature, to try to get down to the 5 there is the goal?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, you know, I don't think I know, we talk about this consolidation stuff daily, Lisa and I. One of the things that, as I sat in front of this group, I think 75 days ago, sometimes it doesn't seem like that long, sometimes it seems a little longer. You know, it's incremental, sustained growth. If I walked into the room and I said, okay, everybody's got to be down to 4, I think they'd laugh at me. You know, and that's not how I want to go about this. I want to do it smart. I want to move forward. As we do the build out, yes, I totally see this as another step forward. As we add this to Olmsted Township, and we continue to grow at CCOMS, I think it will prove that there's a benefit in the operational capability to continue to build on. I hope that answers what you were. I know the Cleveland Heights, the Heights Hillcrest area, they just consolidated a couple years ago. But I'm not known for being quiet and not asking questions,
So I
so
think
we continue to ask about that.
Through the chair, I think that's where I'm confused, because I know we had that consolidation, and I remember that City of Cleveland was going to stand on its own. And when you look at the proximity of where East Cleveland is, you know, who are they going to partner with? So I think I'm a little confused. Will the Cuyahoga Emergency Communications Systems, since we're having an agreement with East Cleveland, will it sit in East Cleveland, or is this just an agreement?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, you know, I can't speak to why East Cleveland's not in Heights Hillcrest, but what I can tell you is currently CCOMS is in Bedford, and that's where the dispatchers will be located. Yeah, the Heights Hillcrest, why it's not there, I can't speak to, as it was before me. I'll let Chief Carney.
And Councilwoman, excuse me, through the chair to the councilwoman. So currently East Cleveland dispatches out of their fire department. They utilize their fire staff or fire officers, as well as out of their police department. And so if this agreement moves forward, they would not have either of those locations any longer. It would just be dispatched out of the CCOMS through the county operators that would be doing the dispatching. And especially for fire, it alleviates them having to stay back and take calls, and so it really helps the city of East Cleveland for their response also.
That helps.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Looking at the body of this, I don't see a need to rush it through, but is there an emergency?
I know we had spoken, would like to request that it be a second reading with a suspension of rules so that we can start that hiring process and get the people on board to meet the June 1st deadline. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
And Councilman, if I may, one of the reasons for that is unfortunately when these discussions happen, a lot of times you start to lose dispatchers, and so the concern with that, and so hopefully we can hire and move this forward as quickly as possible. We would appreciate a suspension of rules.
Well, with that explanation, if everyone's okay with that, I would recommend Resolution 2019-0035 to the full council under second reading suspension.
Second.
All in favor? Against? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
2019-0036.
Resolution, excuse me, resolution number 2019-0036, authorizing a contract with Federal Express Corporation in the amount not to exceed $3,500,000 for mailing services for the period 8/1/2018 through 7/31/2023.
Madam Clerk,
Good afternoon.
it's been a while.
It has been. How have you been doing, everyone?
But pretty good. Things seem to be pretty quiet over there.
We try to keep it that way.
I take it your velvet hammer is the reason why.
Perhaps.
Okay, what do we have?
We have before you our FedEx contract. That contract is necessary so that the clerk of courts can continue to perform our statutory responsibility of providing service of initial complaints and other documents. The contract is a 5-year contract, $700,000 a year. If council is so inclined to authorize the contract, we would ask you and seek a contractor registration exemption. We followed the process that's outlined in the county code by first seeking the exemption from the Inspector General. He denied us, which in the code leads us to appeal to the full body of council to seek the exemption. I should underscore the exemption is just for the $100 registration fee. FedEx has agreed that they will attend the ethics portion of the registration as well as register with the county. They just refuse to pay the $100 registration fee.
And Madam Clerk, if for the edification of my committee, we've run into this situation with other vendors that are national that just don't do this anywhere else and refuse to do it, to the point where we need their services, and therefore we have waived in the past other vendors from this charge.
That is correct, Councilman, and I have with me my finance manager, Michael Smotek, who spoke on the phone with not only the representative from FedEx, but legal from FedEx as well. He can better relate the conversation if you like, but my understanding from him is that, as you said, FedEx being a national company, they are not willing to pay anybody registration fees. I think they even listed various entities in Ohio and with the federal government that they do business with. So that's
Right.
where we're at.
Does anyone have a concern with that? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have this one. It's my question.
Sure, go ahead.
Just curious, and it could be related to the registration fees. Why is this contract starting in August 1 of 2018, and we are now in February of 2019?
I will let, Mike, are you prepared to Mike can walk you through what happened with the contract and what the holdup was for other entities, not us.
Good afternoon. We've been using FedEx since 2014, and they fell under the postage exemption until July of last year. And as soon as we were informed by fiscal that they were no longer exempt, we started working on a contract immediately. It just took a little bit of time to get through FedEx's legal department.
So this should not reoccur again?
No,
you
it
know?
will not reoccur again.
Thank you.
Anyone? Yes, sir.
A follow-up on that, what changed that previously they were under a postage exemption and then all of a sudden they were no longer?
It's my understanding that the fiscal department said, based on an audit, that funds need to be encumbered for every payment. So that's what changed.
Okay.
So if we're okay, yes, ma'am.
Had there been any funds, or has this been needed since
We-
August till now?
Yes, I'm sorry. We've worked with fiscal, and they've manually encumbered funds for us to pay them until the contract's approved.
All right.
And I should add, because I actually spoke with someone from fiscal as well, they agreed to do that knowing that we were going through this process and seeking this exemption. So they were sort of on board and granting us a little bit time to manually encumber the funds so that FedEx could be paid for the services they're providing.
Anyone else have a concern? I'm comfortable doing that because we have done it in the past. Nexus Lexus, I think, was the leader of the pack telling us to go take a walk.
Yes, I had a different role then, and I remember that with LexisNexis doing that.
Okay. Did you want to get in the body of what we're doing here?
With FedEx?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Mike can explain that better than I can, but we use FedEx. I'll give a brief overview. As you may recall, my predecessor stood before those of you who were on council to grant us the authority to do business with FedEx. We offer FedEx as a way for initial service on complaints. So folks can choose between FedEx and the U.S. Post Office in serving of initial complaints and other such documents. We've had incredible success with FedEx. Their rate is much higher than the post office. They're more reliable than the post office. Most folks in the general division do elect to use them. When I say folks, I mean lawyers in the general division do elect to use them. It's also reduced our manpower in terms of our employee level because it's a quicker system that doesn't need as many folks on the ground working with it. I don't know if I've
You've covered it all.
Okay. With that explanation, any further concerns regarding this? Yes, ma'am.
To the chair, to Clerk of Courts, Byrd. You mentioned 700,000, but the contract is some, maybe I'm misreading something. It's saying not to exceed 3.5 million, but you stated 7.
Yes, Councilwoman Conwell, it's a $700,000 a year, 5-year contract, not to exceed 3.5. I apologize if I wasn't clear.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further? I'm comfortable moving forward. I see that there's supposedly a proposed substitute, but I'm not certain we need to do that. Trevor, could you just, you want to come here a sec, please? Do we want to put that $100 waiver in the body of the legislation, or can we add that?
Yes, this committee could either amend it now, a simple amendment that the FedEx is exempted from paying the $100. They will still have to register with the IG, they just won't pay the fee. Or I can do it for you after the committee and we can include it in the agenda packet.
Why don't I make a motion to, and there is we're gonna move this because you're late. Not you're late, we're late.
I
So let's,
apologize,
within the
yes.
body of the motion, with the understanding that the $100 exemption will be made part of this, and if we have to, at the council meeting, make any clarifications or proposed amendments at that time to change that, we'll do it then. But I think by moving 2019-0036 to the full council under second reading suspension, with the caveat that the $100 fee is waived and will be added to the body of the legislation for the council meeting upcoming, I will accept a second. Are there any discussions regarding that? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
See you soon.
I hope so.
2019-0047.
Resolution number 2019-0047, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 1600133 with Axon Enterprise, formerly known as Taser International, for Taser body cameras.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Council. Again, Brandy Carney, Chief of Safety and Justice for Cuyahoga. I have Donna Khalil, the Business Services Managers for the Sheriff's Department, to speak on behalf of this contract, and we also have Captain Jerome from the Sheriff's Department, if you guys have any specific questions to the contract.
Right. Yeah, bring the captain up, because
Yes,
I
sir.
will. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Council. I'm Donna Cleo, Sheriff's Fiscal Manager. So what we're looking to do is amend the current contract with Axon, previously known as Taser, for body cameras. Well, this will expand the body camera program, and it's going to also offer some other items in this new contract. It's going to also offer tasers, and what's called the Officer Safety Plan. And we also have Jeff Bolthouse here from Axon, so he can also answer questions. I'm just here to answer financial questions.
Okay.
But if you want
okay.
specifics about the program, we got the law enforcement and Axon
Okay,
here.
well, we'll discuss it all and then have questions in a moment. Now, specifically body cameras, who are they going to and
Good afternoon. Yeah, currently our law enforcement deputy sheriff, we do have body cameras, approximately 150. Not only will we be upgrading those, we'll be adding, the jail will be adding body cameras. They're requesting 110 body cameras for officers inside of the jail.
is that just for the officers or?
It's for their first line supervisors, corporals, their special response team, which is SRT, and as well as their jail investigators.
Okay, will eventually we go into COs with body cameras?
Sir, I had discussions with the warden. There's approximately, I think, 580 correction officers, so that's, logistically, that's a lot of planning, so at this moment.
Sure.
we're
And
not
what
right
warden did you have that discussion with?
now. Warden Christopher?
Okay, good. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
To the chair, and you didn't state your name?
I'm sorry, Donald Jerome, I'm a captain with the Sheriff's Department.
Mr. Jerome, was there any discussion? So let me first understand, there's 150 currently. We're adding 110, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The 150 are on the law enforcement end with the deputy sheriffs. The corrections officers, right now, they have, I think, approximately 30, which are kind of outdated body camera system. So we're integrating all of our cameras into one company.
Okay, so how many do we have totally now? 150?
150 is for the law enforcement, yes.
Okay, and that includes, does that include this 110 that you're talking about, or the 30?
No, ma'am, it'd be an additional 110.
Okay, and that's what I was trying to establish. So 580, was that even a discussion in terms of the correction officers, which is the first line of offense?
It was brought up briefly before we came over because our Warden Christopher could not make it. So he kind of briefed me on what they were looking at, but it was just a brief discussion on outfitting all of them.
I mean, how can we justify that? I mean, first line of offense, it's kind of like the police officers out on the street, you know? All the administration has it, but the citizens need to be protected by so I'm just wondering why that
I'm sorry.
conversation.
I think the theory right now is that all the housing units have surveillance cameras. These would be outfitted with the first responders as well as some of the areas there are not cameras. An example would be with the special response team. There was some complaints about the team, and with body cameras, it would help investigating those complaints.
Are we talking about the housing units being the ones inside the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, you know, I don't know if I agree with that rationale, and especially in terms of light of all the individuals that passed away, you know?
I think what we'll do is I share your concerns, and I think we'll keep that concern within the committee as we move forward, and I think a plan, as your initial discussions are going on, a plan to expand would be something that I think this committee, I think I'm comfortable in saying that this committee would look positively on. But we'll leave that in your hands to present that to us in a reasonable amount of time. Okay? Is that good enough?
Yeah, I just wanted to go on record and to look at the 110 that they're actually instituting. You know, why couldn't some of those be split since we have a greater number of the 580 correction officers? Just wanted to put that idea out there.
I'm gonna let the safety forces that do this for a living make that decision. But our concern going forward, I think we'll deal with that.
Okay.
So we'll wait for that, and as long as we can. Okay? Is there anything else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as far as the terms of the contract go, I see it's effective January of 19. So it's February. So I'm just trying to figure out why was January 1st chosen as a date as opposed to?
This contract is actually, we're in our third year in this contract, so the amendment, maybe I might have initially made it for January, but this contract took a long time between the law departments to go back and forth, so I probably should have changed it if that's how it reads. Okay. But the contract is, again, we're in our third year, so we're extending it out then 3 more years. So this is gonna ultimately be an 8-year contract. So again, the amendment might read poorly, but with the wrong date, but like I said, this, between our law department, I know Jared worked on it, with the law department from Axon. It took quite a long time to go back and forth with all the terms.
Okay. And then I don't want to reiterate what Ms. Conwell said, so, and with the chairman, I want to make sure I'm talking about the same thing or a different thing. If it is, correct me. So maybe to the captain. So why now, midway through the contract, the change, the additions? I don't know if Ms. Conwell touched on that or.
I think the system that the corrections officers are currently using, the body cameras, this is an upgrade from that. I'm not a tech person, but all that stuff is stored on one server. So they're having issues with the server itself, a lot of information going on that. Axon and Taser, everything's stored in the cloud.
So the
it's an
little
upgrade.
technology is better technology?
Correct, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mine were along the same lines. This contract now ends 2023, so that's 2.5 years from now. I just wondered why we can't just keep it at 2023. Why are you extending it? Oh, I'm sorry, this ends at 2021, which is 2.5 years from now. Why are we extending it? Why not just end it on 2021 and then ask for a new contract?
Okay, so the current contract ends in 2021,
Right,
and
this
we are
is-
extending it out to 2023.
Right.
Because part of this program, and I can bring Jeff up here, it's called the Officer Safety Plan, and that's a 5-year plan. And what that does is that every 2.5, initially, it's going to give us all new body cams. And then in 2.5 years, all new body cams, and then at the end of the contract, all new body cams. So this officer safety plan, my understanding, is a 5-year plan. So in order to partake in that, which gives you kind of preferred pricing and warranty and storage costs and everything, it is a 5-year plan. And since we're already 2 years in, I had to extend it out to get this preferred pricing and to get into this plan. But if you want, I can bring the Axon.
No, that's the answer. That's a good answer.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything further? Okay. And I assume we want to move this immediately. Okay, if everyone's comfortable with moving this to the full council, Resolution 2019-0047, under second reading, suspension to the full council.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Against? Thank you. Thank you very much. 2017-0008.
Ordinance number 2017-0008, amending section 202.12 of the county code to modify the divisions and sections of the Department of Public Safety and Justice Services.
And we have a proposed amendment, or substitute, I'm sorry.
Yes, Chairman. Alex Pelham, Director of Public Safety and Justice Services. What we've looked to do in this change is just to update the ordinance to where it accurately reflects the department. These edits will all occur in Section 1B, and there's no structural changing, there's no organizational changing. It just accurately reflects where the department is right now and what divisions fall under it. It also clarifies a point with agencies or boards or things that we're a part of to promote regionalism and information sharing that don't fall directly under the supervision of myself, the department director, but as a greater regional board, like the Northeast Ohio Regional Fusion Center. It's a purely procedural cleanup ordinance we're proposing.
Okay. Let's move the proposed substitute first, and then we'll take questions. I propose that we substitute 2017-0008 with the proposed substitute in your packet. All in favor? I should say second. then.
Second, I'll second
Aye.
that.
Against? Thank you. So we'll work off the proposed substitute. And you're standing by, it's just the changes that are on the proposed
Yes, sir. It
substitute.
just accurately reflects where we are right now.
Okay. Are there any concerns or questions regarding this? Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. What is a fusion center?
Fusion Center is an intelligence gathering. We serve in a partnership with the City of Cleveland, as well as a 5-county, Lake Lorraine, Ashtabula, Geauga, and Cuyahoga, to where things like suspicious reporting activity comes in, terrorism, intel
Okay,
analysis.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Kind of a house cleaning thing we're
Yes, sir.
doing here.
Very much so.
Okay. If everyone's comfortable, did you, yes, ma'am?
I guess I'm just curious, on the bill itself, it has underlined underneath number 6. What is that change?
Let me pull it up. On the mediation one, I believe, is the mediation went away, the contract, it was done, it was funded through a contract with the juvenile court, and the court opted to terminate that contract and bring it internally in the fall of 2017.
Okay.
So that no longer falls under the Department of Public Safety and Justice Services, and we wanted to accurately reflect that.
If I may, in that language, it says the Department of Public Safety and Justice Services may enter into. I mean, am I reading this correctly, or?
Oh, I apologize. Through the chair to the councilwoman, I apologize. I misunderstood what your question was. That was the example with the Fusion Center to where it doesn't fall directly under the executive's direct guidance or my direct guidance, but we serve as a partner, a member in it to further the good. We had chatted back and forth with the law department, and since we didn't have direct supervision and direct overarching guidance on it, they didn't believe it would be a best to list it as a division within the department, but more of a partnership and a working relationship.
Good, thank you.
Are we good? Any other further questions? Seeing none. So what I'll do here is I'll accept a motion for 2017-0008 as substituted to the full council under second reading suspension. Do I have a motion? In a second? I'll second that. All in favor? Against? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mrs. Carney, you drew the short straw today, and I understand there are avenues that we don't want to go down. So I hope that we don't. And I would admonish the committee to be careful in where we go, but all I want to know is what's going on in the jail to date. What have we done? We did get a letter. I would imagine you want to stay in the four corners of that document, and if there's anything else you can afford us as far as that's ongoing and what's going on. And then I'll have a question after that.
Thank you, sir. Again, Brandy Carney, Chief of Public Safety and Justice for the county. As you spoke to Councilman approximately 2 weeks ago, we did release a report titled Jail Updates that all of you should have received. I can speak to any questions on that specific report. A couple of updates since that report was sent out. Starting today, there are 22 new corrections officers that start today in the jail. Today is the first day of training that the county requires, the 8-day training, so they actually start in the jail tomorrow. They will complete their initial 2 weeks of training in the jail itself and then go to Tri-C for OPATO training. There are 24 officers there again, as well as the next round of posting for correction officers. Obviously, all of us continue and appreciate the additional funding that this group put towards the correction officer hiring, and we want to continue to hire correction officers. The posting that was up, which we'll continue to keep posted, did come down on February 8th. The PRC is testing for additional correctional officers on February 21st through the 23rd, and they will have a certified list to us for the next round on March 4th. So we're trying as expeditiously as possible to continue to hire and train new correction officers for the jail. Additionally, the Metro MOU, when we put out the report, that had not yet been signed, as many of you are aware. The initial step was the MOU. We're also working currently as quickly as possible to complete a contract. The MOU states that by the end of March, we'll have a contract. And so the administration, as well as the sheriff's office and Metro, is working to, and the law department is working to complete that contract now for Metro to take over the healthcare services for the jail. Today, unfortunately, the sheriff and the chief are not available. However, they are interviewing for the jail administrator position. It's my understanding that there were some pretty strong candidates with correctional background also, and so they are starting that interview process. We obviously want to make sure it's the most qualified and right person for the job, but still understand how quickly we too would like to have that position filled. And finally, the American Corrections Association, that contract did go in front of the Board of Control. Their staff will be on site beginning February 24th at the jail through the first week of March. After that, they go back and then they will generate a report for us, but they are working directly with the sheriff's office. It's my understanding almost daily, talking to them and working with them. So I can speak, those are some of the updates that since the report was put together, but I can answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, Director, what's the current population at the jail?
Through the chairman to the councilman, I don't have the average daily population or ADP for today. As of February 1st, it was down to 1865, which we are very appreciative of the courts as well as the prosecutor's office for their work in that. You know, between that and some of the new bail reform efforts, pretrial services, you know, we'd like to continue to keep that number down. But sir, I'd be happy to provide those exact numbers from then until now following this meeting to you.
And Madam Chair, Director, we'll use the 1865 for now. You achieved a reduction of something like 500 in a relatively short time. And can you tell us how that reduction was achieved? Was it were some people released early? Did people just cycle through and not very many brought in to replace them, or how did this? Can you kind of give us some understanding? I want to get some understanding of what the elements are for where that reduction came from, and to what extent you think it's sustainable going forward, or whether there could be fluctuations.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. Again, I would speak to the courts understanding, you know, the number this summer had got up to an average of 2420, the average daily population. And so the courts, again, the prosecutor understanding, you know, the capabilities that we have within the jail. I can't speak directly to that number, meaning, you know, how arrest on the street and how that translates. I mean, I would love to have that data. I don't currently, but it really has been a group effort. You know, parallel, we're really trying to push this jail reform or bail reform effort, which should really help unnecessarily keeping people inside the jail and keeping that daily population down. So those efforts are really starting now. Over the last year, they've been starting, but hopefully even more so, and will continue. So I wish I could speak more specifically. I can't. Unfortunately, I don't have that data.
Just one follow-up question. Were there any post-sentencing that were released earlier, or was the reduction achieved entirely through a bail reform and sentencing and arrest rates and things that occurred prior to sentencing?
Neela Bird, Clerk of Courts. I'm giving Brandy a lifeline. I can speak just in terms of bonds. We're noticing that the judges are issuing more personal bonds to defendants, which is the signature bond, so people are being released. That could account for some of the decline in the population, to answer your question.
And again, thank you, Clerk. Again, speaking to the judges, they did, there is a new position, a jail liaison position, that is supposed to be and has been working directly with the sheriff's office and looking at that daily population and how to keep those numbers down, such as the personal bond that the clerk has spoke to. So again, everybody working together on this effort.
So,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Carney, do we know if any that had already been sentenced were released early, or is that not part of the equation?
Unfortunately, I can't speak to that. I can see if I can get that information. Would be happy to provide it to you, sir.
Okay, that would be fine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Mrs. Carney, as far as you mentioned a jail liaison, is that pretty good, huh? French? Yeah. Between the courts and the county, when was that position put into place?
It's my understanding within the last month that that is a new position for the courts, and within the last month that has been implemented.
So that's a new position?
That's correct.
So then, with respect to bail reform itself, I mean, that's, that's a big term. So practically, who have you been dealing with to try to ensure that that there's fairness and that the numbers aren't getting overwhelming at the jail? Who have you been dealing with, I suppose, directly?
To the councilman, so I can't speak to the numbers that have currently been decreasing over the last 6 months. However, myself and Judge Early, who's the administrative judge for the city of Cleveland, did speak last week. She did send me numbers last week that include currently, let me take a step back, I apologize. Currently, the city of Cleveland is using the assessment tool, but they are currently have some of the pretrial services for misdemeanors and not felonies. I had asked for the numbers of felonies. I also plan on asking those from the Common Pleas Court, and then, coming in front of all of you and asking, if there's another way that we can increase pretrial services, so that would even be a larger population that could take advantage of those pretrial services rather than staying in the jail. So that hasn't happened, but that is an effort that I've been speaking to the judges about in the last few weeks.
And you do plan on speaking with the county judges then?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
okay,
got
'cause I think
Cleveland,
that's a
and I want to
key
make sure first appearance
Okay.
for, absolutely,
I
sir.
understand. So that's a key component in all this, though. That's a large portion. So, okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Carney, in terms of hiring the COs, the process of hiring the COs, are you confident that the county can keep up with that process in a way that can keep us on a timeline that we want to be on in terms of bringing on new COs?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Councilman. So I can tell you that it's absolutely a priority of myself as well as the Sheriff's Office employees, making sure that we continue this effort of constant hiring. I am confident to say I will continue to make sure that weekly, I come in, we make sure that the PRC has done a good job in consolidating their process and really understanding the importance of getting these hired, as well as HR. So I really do appreciate the group effort, and I will say that I will continue to make that a priority until we get to that number again, thanking you for the 3.5 million.
Certainly, this is one of the important roles of this committee, but I know the council, given the importance of this issue, that approach of really staying on top of it on a weekly basis so that we don't end up in a situation down the road where we're behind and we are asking how we got to be behind.
I can personally tell you I will continue on a weekly basis, sir.
We will want to engage as a council if that begins to be a problem, so
Thank you. Thank you.
The ankle bracelet program, last we spoke with the sheriff, you probably don't know, but I'd like a report on how many are no longer being used for probation, which they weren't intended for. It was for pretrial, which will reduce our amount of people in the jail. I don't know how that guy got hijacked or who hijacked it, but that has to stop. So we'd like a report back on that if that's not too difficult to do.
Absolutely, Councilman. We have approximately 300 GPS bracelets, and last time when you and I spoke, it was about 50-50, so about 150 of those were being used for probation.
Right.
But I would be happy to get you new numbers, and I know the Sheriff's Office has continued to have discussions about those being utilized for release rather than probation.
Well, it's not a means of discussion. It's a program run by the sheriff. I anticipate the sheriff's going to monitor that program, and anybody that has anybody on an ankle bracelet on probation, they can take it out of their budget. If that's what they want to do. That's 150 beds that could be opened up, and that's my concern there. And if there's no movement on that, then we'll have to bring the parties in and discuss it, why they hijacked the program that they shouldn't have to, and the sheriff might have to answer why, indeed, he let somebody hijack that program, indeed, if it did. So I'd like to see that get all to those that are for pretrial, and that'll help us out in the beds, as I know you well know and the sheriff well knows, and you'll certainly have support on this end.
Yes,
Because
sir.
when it comes out of somebody else's budget, they have a tendency to move. Who's the liaison for the courts? I had to one-up my Parma friend here.
Unfortunately, I don't know that particular name, but I'd be happy to provide it to you following this. I can
Does
send it.
anybody
anyone else
know the
who court
liaison?
is? No.
Well, that's a good job to have evidently.
Nobody knows.
There you go. Prosecutor O'Malley has met her.
ACA is coming into, they're not the ones doing the policy and procedures, are they?
They are not. They are coming in to provide a security assessment. There's specifics in their contract, and they will be in on February 24th, sir.
That I understand. Who's doing policies and procedures for $300,000?
That is a Lexipol contract, so.
Who decided that? Who asked for that?
So I specifically recall Chief Taylor, he might have used them in Toledo. I can tell you that North Royalton Safety Director, for example, and Police Safety Director recently reached out to me and said that they have utilized Lexipol for some time. They've been very happy. Again, it's a company throughout the U.S. that works with local law enforcement agencies to, after they study federal and state procedures, to make recommendations and work with them on policies and procedures at the local
That
level.
I understand. I don't want to be, Monday morning quarterback, but everything I've read, I don't think our policies and procedures are the issue here. Policies and procedures are being implemented, evidently, by those that should be implementing them. So we're paying, in my opinion, $300,000 for someone to go out and tell us that we have policies and procedures that are just okay, and maybe they'll tweak it a little bit for $300,000. And the problem really seems to lie in those that are to implement that. So I hope I'm wrong, but it sounds like a $300,000 blunder. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I found that odd.
I will say, Councilman, it is a 3-year contract. There is, depending on the contract, a possibility for, if it's not working for us for the entire 3 years, there's a termination clause. But we have heard good things, and the Sheriff's Office did recommend starting with them. But I will absolutely understand your concern and
Well, we'll
discuss
just
it with
keep
the
an eye
sheriffs.
on it. It
Yes, sir.
just, and I'm not concerned about cost. I'm just concerned, is it necessary? So, but we'll follow what they produce as far as their work product and make that determination from the sheriff. Going forward, I have a concern that our $99 per diem for the prisoners is been thrown out of whack with the advent of the addition of the new medical, which I think we're all thankful up here that that's happening and a long time coming. Also, the thoughts that maybe the meals might be outsourced, and I know an RFP is being worked on. This all has to be calculated as to what our per diem is going to be, and it's not going to be $99. So those partners that we have right now, I think, should be on notice that soon, very soon, a new dollar figure is going to be popping up. And if they need to coordinate something else, they need to start thinking about it, because it's not going to be, again, $99.
I can tell you, Councilman, that especially with the advent of the Cleveland prisoners since approximately last July, I too have asked for a lot of specific dollar figures, and there were some estimates, but now that we've been through this approximately 6 months, as well as what you spoke of, we can get some specific numbers and come back to this committee and discuss, what that delta might be between that $99 that we've had out there.
I think this committee and the council as a whole has not been concerned on cost or savings. It's been the concern of hitting that sweet spot where we're not making money, but we certainly can't lose money.
Absolutely.
And it seems to me pretty obviously that we're fading into the losing money aspect of this, and we can't do that. We just can't do that. We're just not doing our jobs if we do that. So I would hope that when these numbers can be calculated and recalculated, that we would be identified we could identify that cost to our partners and let them make a decision as we go forward.
Absolutely.
Finally, there's rumors that the state medical report on the jail, or the jail report, is going to be out there. Do you have that? Does somebody have that?
Councilman, I currently don't have a copy of it. I did hear that the state should be releasing that report today. I can't speak to when they exactly did come in. Again, this is the annual assessment that they complete for
right.
the jail.
Right.
I can't say this 100%, but I think following the U.S. Marshals report, they did come in, rather than in June around their normal time, they came in the last few months, and they are going to be releasing that report as of today, but I personally still do not have a copy.
Do you
or
know of
haven't seen it.
anybody in the county that has that report?
It's my understanding that the sheriff's office does have a copy of the report. We want to make sure that the sheriff's office is able to get through it, and then I can make sure to share it with all of you as soon as possible.
That would have been nice to know yesterday when I was told the report was out there. Once again, transparency. It would have been nice to know to have shared that with this committee. I don't know who had it, and I don't appreciate the fact that who's had it has had it a week. At least a week, from what my understanding, and that we have no idea what's going on. I don't blame you, but knowing that it's been out there, here we go again with information not flowing to this committee or this council, or at least this council president. Somebody up here needs to notify us. But I can only imagine what's in that report, and I'm not going to hold my tongue anymore. So we'll see what's going on there. Anybody
Can I
have any,
just say,
anything
Councilman,
further?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Ma'am,
think
I don't blame
yeah,
you. The person that
bring it up
got
today.
that report, which wasn't you, should have notified the council president. That's all I'm saying. And that's all I'm sending a message to the administration or somebody in the administration. Is it that difficult? Is it really that difficult? I think history will show that we're the gang up here that's pulling us out of the fire and not digging that hole deeper. And we just need to, we'd like to help out some more.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? And again, that's not directed at you. Is there anything further from Mrs. Carney? Okay. Is there any miscellaneous? Nothing? No one? Okay, gang, thanks.
Thank you.